Hello, hello, hello. This is Warren Redley. I'm going to talk about a few things today. We'll start with SpaceX really quick. I'm going to talk about Tesla a bit, just what's going on with Tesla stock, what's going on. Good morning, Mark. Thank you. And good morning to everyone in the chat. I certainly appreciate all the support. Really quick, I want to thank the Vasa Law Firm in Sweden and all my Patreon supporters. I want to thank the supporters on Locals itself. Please support the channel. There's no ads on my videos on Locals. There's ads on YouTube. YouTube censors me. Locals does not. So I feel more free. And this particular live stream is going to be a better example of what would be more likely to be censored. I'm not going to say anything that should be censored, but just the way YouTube behaves, it's more likely. So briefly going to talk about SpaceX. I'm going to talk about Tesla stock. I'm going to talk about a little bit about Tesla news. There hasn't been a lot of direct Tesla news this week, so I'm going to talk a little bit less about that. And then the stuff that would be more likely to be censored, I'm going to talk about politics, which is something I very carefully avoid on YouTube. So, but I feel more free to speak about it here. And there's a lot of politics going on with Elon Musk and Tesla and SpaceX and certain politicians who've been attacking Elon. So we'll be talking about that today. And then the plan is that I'm going to be doing this live stream, which is free for anybody. And then when this live stream is over, which is an hour, hour and a half, then I'm going to do a second live stream for paying supporters only, where I'm going to talk about a very serious personal issue for me. Nothing you need to worry about, but something that I'm taking very seriously in my own life that relates to something that Elon Musk has been talking about a fair bit in recent moments. A big problem for humanity that I think needs to be addressed, and it relates to me personally. I'm going to be talking about it more publicly later, but I'm a little bit more free to speak about it now. I still want to keep it behind the paywall. If you want to hear that, and I do intend to share that video with my Patreon supporters and YouTube channel members, but the last time I did that, YouTube censored me. They censored the video and deleted it. I don't think I'm going to say anything that'll get me censored in this one, but just to be clear, if you really want to follow me and follow what I talk about, then please support this channel, and everything on this channel is uncensored. You don't have to worry about YouTube getting in the way. You don't have to worry about censorship interfering. I don't do anything that I believe should be censored, but YouTube censors me. Patreon has a history of censoring people, so I would prefer, please support me on this channel. Okay, so let's get into it. SpaceX's pace. This is, I'm a SpaceX nut. Huge SpaceX fan. Look at all the stuff that they've done in the last month or so. We just had a launch last night, the Turksat mission, which was to geo-transfer orbit. This is a further away from the Earth's surface orbit. I just watched it the replay this morning. They got out to around 1,000 kilometers. The Starlinks are like 500 kilometers. Requires more delta V to get out to an orbit that much further out. So that's an accomplishment. Just the day before, we had a Starlink mission. The cadence, I think the word is cadence, or the pace, the rapidity of SpaceX doing these launches. And the Turksat launch, the booster landed. It's the 99th time that SpaceX has landed an orbital rocket booster. The next launch will be the 100th. This is huge. Starlink mission success. The imaging X-ray polarimetry mission was a success. Another Starlink mission, a success. The DART test, a success. Down below, another Starlink mission. Crew 3, they're just nailing it. And all this stuff in about the past month. SpaceX is just killing it. SpaceX is achieving so much. The fact that Elon's business has achieved so much is something that should be respected, is something that should be appreciated by pretty much everyone. And I'm going to be talking later in this video about the unbelievable volume of attacks on Elon Musk that are coming from a certain part of American politics. So we'll talk about that soon. And then just really quick, I wanted to show you this. I put this in a video yesterday, but Starship is making progress. This is the Starship center engines gimbaling, the Super Heavy center engines gimbaling, which gives the Super Heavy the ability to, okay, let's see if it loops now. Okay, now it's going to loop. So these are the center engines on Super Heavy, and they're able to move around. They move in unison, and it allows them to steer effectively, to steer the Super Heavy booster. And Elon tweeted, just a quick mention, that this is a configuration with 29 Raptor engines, and 9 of them do this gimbaling to steer. Elon tweeted that the next configuration that's coming will be 33 engines instead of 29, so 4 more engines total. And I think all 4 are going to be in the center area. And so there'll be 13 engines in the center area gimbaling. And they're going to be Raptor 2 engines, which are ballpark 20% more powerful than these Raptor 1 engines that we're seeing here. So this is great stuff. Starship is moving forward. Starship, Elon tweeted, is going to go from 6 Raptor engines to 9. They're adding 3 more vacuum engines. Vacuum optimized are engines that are optimized for space as opposed to for sea level. When you're launching from sea level, air pressure affects the efficiency of the engine. And if you have a vacuum optimized engine at sea level, it doesn't have as much effective force because of the way the air pressure affects how it goes. A sea level optimized engine is not as efficient in a vacuum. So adding 3 more vacuum optimized engines means that Starship will be that much more effective when it's in a vacuum. And most of Starship's operations occur way above sea level because it's launched by Super Heavy. The Starship engines aren't firing until it's 40, 50, 60 kilometers up. We don't know exactly what the mission profile is going to be. So really, vacuum engines are a lot more important for Starship. The 3 sea level optimized engines are probably for landing. Well, Mark, just really quick, Mark keeps talking about why doesn't NASA do this? NASA doesn't do launches. This isn't about NASA. This is about other companies. This is even like the Chinese are not, who are, very aggressive, very innovative, not afraid to copy other technology. All these criticisms, which I don't think are valid criticisms of the Chinese haven't managed to pull off reasonable. This is the stunning tribute to SpaceX, to Elon Musk, is that they've been landing orbital rocket boosters since 2015. It is now, in 2 days, it will be 6 years since they first landed an orbital rocket booster. The anniversary is 2 days from now. And no one else has even tried to land an orbital rocket booster. So that's the lead that SpaceX has. And talking about Tesla, that's the lead that Tesla has. The lead in terms of the ability to do something absolutely amazing. I mean, if you think about it, in my opinion, I have a 2018 Tesla Model 3, so I'm going to say this. No one is yet making a vehicle, an electric vehicle, that's as good as the 2018 Model 3 for a comparable price. Sure, Lucid Air has more range at, $170,000. The Mach-E is not better than my Model 3. It's not. There really isn't a car out there, an electric vehicle out there that's as good, especially when you consider the supercharger network, the software in the car, so many other things. They still haven't caught up. I think they're closer behind Tesla than the launch industry is behind SpaceX. But just think about that. They're going to land their 100th rocket booster. They're going to land their 100th orbital rocket booster before the end of this year. This has been going on for 6 years. And no one else has even tried to land an orbital. How far behind is the rest of the launch industry? Absolutely amazing. Okay, so let's move on. I want to talk about Tesla stock really quick because a lot of people are freaking out. $932 a share. Oh no, and you can see it's down from $1,156 a share back November 22nd. Maybe it was even a little higher. I think at one point it was close to $1,200 a share. And people are freaking out. I don't know what, I have bought some stock at higher than $932 a share, but my average cost basis is around, for all the different stock I bought over all the time I bought it, my average cost basis is probably around $100 a share. This happened, there was a dip in the market a few months ago. It dropped to it was in the 600s or 700s, and it dropped to like 570, and everybody's freaking out. It goes up, it comes down. These are momentary blips. If you are a long-term investor, then just don't panic. This is, I'm not planning to sell for 5 or 10 years. So what difference does it make if the stock goes up or down a little bit over the next, few weeks? Elon has been selling. Mark is correct. Elon is not done selling shares. I think he's close to done. But Elon is selling stock. He's also buying stock. Elon is going to end up with more stock by the end of all this bout of selling than he had before, because he's buying more stock through his options that he has to exercise than he's selling. So this is not like Elon giving a vote of a lack of confidence in the company. He's buying more. He's going to own more of this company. But, at some point in the next few weeks, Elon's going to stop selling, And that pressure, that sell side pressure that puts on the share price is going to lapse. And I think we're going to see the stock go up. But I don't even like to get into these short-term stock price predictions. I would just say, look, don't panic. People panicked when it was at 570. And now we're panicking that it's at 930. We're up like more than 50% from the last time we panicked. I don't understand why people are panicking. Everything's great. Here's the thing. There's no bad news about Tesla. There's no like problem in manufacturing. There's no, shortfall of demand. If you want to buy a Tesla now, you got to wait like 6 months to a year to get it. It's crazy. So yeah, Adam says he liquidated some assets to buy more Tesla shares. I actually sold some an ETF and a mutual fund when it was trading around $1,000, and I bought another 66 shares of Tesla stock. And I'm not like panicking that, oh no, it's down. I paid $1,000 and now it's down to 930. Who cares? I'm in this for the long haul. To me, this is a bargain. The stock is worth easily $2,500 a share. It might be worth $5,000 a share today. And if you can buy a stock that's worth $5,000 a share today for $1,000, then buy it. If you have spare cash, I'm out of cash. I spent everything I had to buy more Tesla stock. I mean, I think some other assets may clear up in the near future. I'll be talking about this personal stuff in the second live stream. I don't think it's going to affect my Tesla stock purchases, but anyway. So don't panic about the stock. If you follow my channel, then you're a long-term investor and you shouldn't be panicking about the stock. If you're a short-term trader and you're worried about the ups and downs over the next month or so, then I'm not the guy for you. Yeah, I mean, if these kinds of ups and downs bother you and this freaks you out, you want somebody to tell you, when to buy and when to sell, I'm just saying buy all the time. Don't sell. I've never sold a share. I've been buying Tesla stock since February 2016. I've probably bought on like 30 different occasions, and maybe more than that now, and I've never sold a share. And, I started buying when it was like $30 a share. 38, I think my lowest price was around $38 a share. And there's no reason to panic. Just buy it, hold it, don't even worry about it. No panic. So, the one piece of Tesla news, Elon talked about FSD 10.8 Plus is going to be released. So for those who don't know, I have FSD beta on my Model 3 that I got from Omar. Omar had, as far as I know, I'm the only person who bought FSD beta. I'm driving FSD beta. I'm happy with it. Lately, I've been driving myself more because I've started to realize how fun it is to drive my Model 3. So I'm trying to relax and let FSD beta drive more because I just end up having so much fun driving the car, especially if I'm not in a hurry. If I know I'm not in a hurry, if I know I have time to kill, then I let FSD beta drive. One of the things about FSD beta that I find is it's not very aggressive. It doesn't get there very fast. If you are in a hurry, then if you are routinely in a hurry, then FSD beta is not for you. If you are excited to watch your car drive itself and you're going to pay attention and make sure you stop it from doing something stupid, which it does, then it's great. I was driving yesterday. I had FSD beta driving yesterday, and it started to make a left lane change it should not have made, and I stopped it. But anyway, I'm currently driving 10.6.1. We were all expecting 10.7. Elon said 10.8 is coming. I think at one point he said we could call 10.8 version 11. So I think version 11 is coming soon. I thought version 11 is when we eliminate the highway autopilot stack and FSD beta drives everywhere. So I'm not clear what the changes are going to be in 10.8. For those who aren't familiar with this, when you're driving a Tesla and you flick the right lever down twice to have the car take over the driving, when you're on the highway, the user interface is not colorful. It's basically black and white or grayscale. And that's the old highway autopilot, which is not as much artificial intelligence. It's more human coded. Okay, here's how humans write code telling the car how to drive on various circumstances. When you're not on an interstate highway and you double click the lever down, or when you come off an interstate highway, all of a sudden the interface gets colorful. The right side line might be yellow or red, and that's an indication that FSD beta is now driving. And same thing in parking lots. It used to be there were 3 stacks, interstate highway, regular roads, and parking lot. I think FSD beta has taken over parking lots, but I'm not sure. So anyway, 10.8 is coming hopefully Tuesday, which I think is 2 days from now. Elon you know, when Elon says probably Tuesday, that might mean Friday. That's just Elon time is what it is. We get the option to adjust Sentry mode sensitivity. I'm not sure what that's a reference to, but it's coming. Cool. So they're skipping over 10.7. I think they were working on version 10.7 and 10.8 made progress faster. So they decided not to bother doing a 10.7 update, going straight to 10.8. I think version 11 is right around the corner. I think we're going to see version 11 not before the end of the calendar year, but sometime in early January, we're going to see version 11, and version 11 is going to be a step up. Now, one of the things I want to be clear about, I've been driving it since maybe 10.1 or 10.2. I don't really think that as an individual driver, you notice the change from one version to the next. And even 2 or 3 versions, you don't really notice the changes. There's a lot of things that the car does wrong that it did wrong before. You know, like I live in a gated community. I'm frequently in another gated community. It's not very good on gates. It hasn't gotten much better at the gates. It's way better about roundabouts than it used to be. There's a lot of circumstances. It's sort of like you have to go back like 5 versions and think, what was it like then? What's it like now? And it's hard for humans to think that way. But if you go watch old FSD beta videos from 6 months ago, and then you look at current ones, you're like, oh, it's a lot better. So there's a lot of improvements. A lot of the improvements are things that are happening under the hood that you wouldn't see. Like it's getting better at detecting this kind of object or predicting what this kind of object is going to do. And it's like a 20% improvement in something that you can't really see. So anyway, FSD beta is improving. This is important stuff. And this is sort of loosely Tesla news. Cathie Wood and ARK Invest issued a white paper. I don't know what we would call this, a deeper dive into their thoughts on what's coming and innovation stocks in particular. ARK Invest, and those disclosure, obviously people know I'm invested in Tesla. I think I've been clear about that. I'm invested in ARK. It's not a big investment by my standards, but I do own something like $5,000 or $10,000 in ARK Invest in the main fund, ARKK. I'm a big believer in Cathie Wood. I don't agree with her on everything, but I'm a big believer in the way she thinks. And my idea of diversifying my investing is I've got a lot of Tesla stock in multiple accounts, so I'm diversified because now I have Tesla in 4 different accounts. But besides that joke, I invest in Cathie Wood's fund. I invest in Ross Gerber's fund, which are themselves fairly heavily invested in Tesla, but nowhere near as heavily as I am. And they're looking at other innovative stocks. They're looking at other ways of investing in the innovation space. So Cathie Wood is talking here about innovation stocks. There's a perception that some traditional investors have that innovation stocks are in a bubble. And Cathie Wood is arguing the opposite perspective, that they are in deep value territory. If you believe, as Cathie Wood does, that the stocks that ARK Invest is investing in are going to 5x over the next couple of years, then it's a damn good time to buy. Now, I don't know, like one of the examples is she's a big believer in genomic stocks. I don't know. I'm not sure I buy the genomics revolution is happening that fast. I feel like genomics has always been 5 years away. 20 years ago, genomics was 5 years away. 10 years ago, genomics was I think genomics is still 5 years away, and it's going to be for another 10 years. But at some point, it's going to cross that threshold, and it's going to be real. That's the theory, that genomics will cross a line and all of a sudden become really important. And I think a lot of the things that ARK Invest goes for are things that I'm not sure they're going to break through, but if they do, it'll be big. And, you know, it's a small play, and I just honestly really like Cathie Wood. I really like Ross Gerber, so I invest in their funds. But I do think this is a really good read. So if you can check this out, if you want to read a perspective on the markets, and Elon, very unusual to see Elon make a comment like this on something like this, because Elon doesn't really focus on investing his money. You know, Elon's money is all invested in his own companies. He doesn't typically invest in others. So kind of surprising to see Elon comment like this. So if you need an endorsement to read this, forget about Warren's endorsement. Elon said read this. So I highly recommend reading this. Oh, Alexandra's in the chat. Alexandra, check out, I don't know your Twitter feed. If you want to put your Twitter feed in the chat, your Twitter handle in the chat. She was actually somewhat critical of Cathie Wood today or yesterday. She had a long thread. Maybe you can put a link to your thread in the chat so people can see it. Just check her Twitter. She just put her Twitter handle in the chat. Check her Twitter and see her thread. I don't actually agree with her, by the way, on her criticism of Cathie Wood, but it's still worth reading. and I still love her. Just, we can agree with people, disagree with people, and still like say, hey, it's great, I love what you're doing, even if I don't agree with everything you say. I don't agree with everything Cathie Wood says, but I love her passion. I love the way she thinks. She is one of the biggest things I disagree with Cathie Wood about is she thinks inflation is temporary, and we're really heading towards a long-term deflationary environment. And I think that we are at serious risk of serious inflation. And Jack Dorsey has tweeted about hyperinflation. So I'm hopeful that Cathie Wood is correct, and the massive improvements in technology are going to lower prices faster than government can screw up the economy and increase inflation. So definitely worth reading Cathie Wood's paper, definitely worth reading Alexandra's tweet thread criticizing Cathie Wood. Get all the perspectives, see what different people are saying. All right, so speaking of criticism, Senator Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and Robert Reich, I'm going to talk about in a second, they have been attacking Elon Musk for months now. And this is mind-boggling to me. Okay, and so for starters, if you follow my channel, you know I'm an absolute batshit crazy Elon Musk fan. Okay, we all know that. And I honestly don't understand. If you claim you care about climate change, and I'm actually not a big worrier about climate change, but if you claim you care about climate change and you think shifting from internal combustion engine vehicles to electric vehicles helps solve climate, I'm an Elon Musk fan. Buy the shirt, elonbits.com, buy the shirt, very popular shirt right now. No one is doing more about climate change than Elon Musk and Tesla. I literally do not understand why Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and Robert Reich and frankly Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party, Jonna Crider. I think Jonna is historically a liberal. I could be wrong about Jonna, but I never thought Jonna was a conservative. I'm struck by this series of attacks. Here's just picking on Robert Reich for a second. Robert Reich is he was in the Obama administration. I think he was in the Clinton administration. He's a professor at UC Berkeley. Gets paid an obscene amount of money by the government. He gets paid $50,000 for an hour speaking fee, plus he wants $20,000 for an hour virtual speaking to get on his computer and do Zoom. Plus he gets all these other perks. And Elon jokes, wait, people pay him to speak. I mean, he's boring. He's like, it's amazing that people pay these guys, but Robert Reich has been bashing Elon forever. And Bernie Sanders, when will future generations ask us what we did to stop the climate crisis, how will we answer? No one's doing more about the climate, about reducing CO2 emissions, shifting us from internal combustion engines to electric vehicles, than Elon Musk shifting us from from fossil fuels to solar. I don't see anybody doing much more than that. It's striking. So here's the thing I wanted to talk about. What's the political strategy in the Democratic Party? I want to be clear. I am not a fan of the Republican Party. I'm a libertarian. I dislike both major parties. Technically, I'm a registered Democrat. One of my friends is a state legislator, and one of my friends and neighbors is a state legislator in Florida, a Democrat state legislator. A lot of my friends are Democrats. A lot of my friends are Republicans too. But I'm a libertarian. I don't like either major party. And I did vote for Ron DeSantis, and I feel good about it. But I also voted for the agriculture secretary, who's a Democrat, for state office, because I had dealt with her on a business matter in the past as an attorney, and I thought she was really good. So I'm not very partisan between Republican and Democrat, but I'm looking at this, and I'm like, I don't understand the Democratic Party's strategy here. Elon's popular. He's popular with their base. There's a lot of people who got behind Elon who they're worried about climate change. They want to see a shift away from fossil fuels. They want to see solar power. They want to see electric vehicles. And here's the guy who's doing it, right? I mean, probably more than half of Elon's fans are Democrats. Why would Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, and look, Joe Biden hasn't attacked Elon directly, but he's been shitting on Elon by talking as if General Motors is leading the EV revolution when there's no question that Tesla is leading the EV revolution. Has an EV summit and doesn't invite Tesla. The Democratic Party has been shitting on Elon, and I think it's like, I don't understand it, like, from a political strategy. Like, you have an election coming up in 2022, and you're shitting on a guy who is really, really popular with your base. And you're basically taking your base and you're saying, hey, listen, We want you to choose between this guy you really like and us. Well, some of them are going to choose Elon. And they're going to say, fuck you, we're not voting for you. I mean, this is what, like, I don't get it. Like, and you know, look, you've got the White House, you've got Congress. Why aren't you stopping dropping bombs? Why aren't Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren complaining about Joe Biden dropping bombs on all these countries? Like, what does the Democratic Party actually stand for? I don't, you have the White House. Obama had the White House before. You could have stopped all the wars. You could have brought the troops home. I mean, okay, he's opened the borders, sort of. He's not really opening the borders. I don't understand what they're doing. Is the strategy, let's tank the 2022 election so badly that we can then blame the Republican Congress for everything that goes wrong in the next 2 years and try to win the 2024 election? I don't get it. I think they're burning a lot of people on the Democratic Party. Like, to some extent, look, I'm a libertarian. I want libertarians to win, but libertarians never win. We're a bunch of lunatics. We can never mount a good campaign. So you're down to Democrats versus Republicans. And I think they're making so many middle of the roaders and moderate Democrats mad that this could lead to like a permanent shift to the Republican Party, which really wouldn't be healthy for American democracy. Even though I might currently, if they're going to be this crazy in the Democratic Party, I'm going to lean Republican too. I mean, I'd vote for, I still could never vote for Trump, but I could vote for DeSantis. That's all. I have a whole personal thing with Trump that I don't want to get into. I could never vote for Trump. It has nothing to do with all the reasons. I hate Trump for the wrong reasons. My Democrat friends started hating me because I didn't hate Trump for the right reasons. I hate Trump for personal reasons. That's a whole long story we don't need to get into here. But if you want, well, to little briefly, it's his association with Roger Stone, a man that I sued for defamation. And the fact that any politician who would be willing to work with that, excuse my French, but fucking scumbag, I can never vote for Trump because of that. And that's not the right reason. I'm supposed to hate Trump because he's rude. I don't really care that he's rude. He's an asshole, but so this is just like mind-boggling. And I just want to talk about this really quick. This is an example of there's this guy Mike Siegel who's running for something in Texas. I don't know what. And he's taken a cheap shot that Austin politicians gave Elon Musk over $60 million in subsidies to move here. Like, this is part of the game of American politics and business. Is you're going to locate your business somewhere, and local politicians compete to attract your business, and they offer you tax breaks and subsidies. Let me just address Birkenstock here. Why can't you just bash Democrats for their year-long fuck-ups without bashing Republicans? Republicans have no power now. Oh, I agree with you. I'm saying I can't believe how badly the Democrats are messing up, but I don't think the Republicans were. Look at people. It's comical that people will attack Trump or DeSantis over the vaccines when Trump and DeSantis push the vaccines. Currently, Birkenstock. Amazing that a Birkenstock would be a Republican, but currently, I am much more sympathetic with the Republican Party than I am with the Democratic Party because of the reasons that I'm talking about. And here's another one. This guy is a progressive, which is where Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders put themselves. I actually think they're regressive. That's a whole other thing. All these names are meaningless baloney these days, but this guy's attacking Elon for getting subsidies. This is the game. You're going to locate your business somewhere, and different local governments compete to attract your business. State and local governments compete to attract your business. Elon didn't invent the game. I didn't invent the game. This is just the way the game. Do I think the game should be played this way? No. I think every government should strive to have the lowest taxes possible and most business-friendly environment possible. And then businesses would choose to locate on the place that's got the best business environment without worrying about who's giving me money. But this is the game that Republicans and Democrats have been playing for years. And so this guy's taking a cheap shot at Elon over it. $60 million in subsidies. There's like a $10 billion investment going into Giga Texas. $60 million is a drop in the bucket. It's less than 1% of what's being invested in Giga Texas. It's generating all these jobs. It's making Austin is growing like crazy. Yeah, and that's a good point, Melody. Elon is not personally getting the subsidies. There are tax breaks and maybe there are subsidies to encourage Tesla, not Elon, to build his factory there. SpaceX is also building stuff there. Neuralink is also building stuff there. Boring Company is building stuff there. Facebook, Google, there's a lot of stuff happening in Austin, Texas. Austin, Texas is growing like crazy. Here it is again, some local Democrat, progressive Democrat in Texas attacking. I don't understand why they're attacking Elon. Somebody explain. Am I missing something? He's got like 67 million followers on Twitter. He's popular. He's funny. He hosts Saturday Night Live. I think it was their best, and I think it had their highest number of views other than the Dave Chappelle hosted episode. Like, why would you? I don't understand attacking popular people. I just don't get it. Is there some sort of base of population that hates Elon Musk because he's saving the world? Like, I'm one of the ideas that I haven't carried through is writing a book about how Elon is saving humanity. And just really quick again, when this live stream is over, we're about a half hour in, probably going to go an hour, a little more than an hour. When this live stream is over, I'm going to do a second live stream where I'm going to talk about a personal issue that relates to a big problem that Elon has been talking about. And it's going to be deeply personal. I'm not emotional. Maybe I am a little bit emotional, but I'm going to talk about this in my next live stream, which will be for supporters only. So the Daily Lie is not ad supported. This channel succeeds or fails based on whether people choose to support the channel. We currently have a fair number of people paying to support the channel. Greatly appreciate the supporters. Also appreciate supporters on Patreon and YouTube channel members as well. But I want to talk about that topic behind the paywall for now, sort of like a privacy thing. I don't want it to be spread too widely yet. I am going to be talking about this more publicly soon, I think, depending on how things go. But if you're interested in hearing about something deeply personal for me that relates to something Elon's talking about, please support the channel so you can watch the live stream that's coming next. So, all right, let me turn to... So, Birkenstock says Elon is a future threat to the Democratic Party. I don't think so. I don't think Elon is a threat to the Democratic Party. I think the Democratic Party is a threat to itself. I cannot grasp. It's like attacking Michael Jordan. It's like attacking, Shaquille O'Neal. Like, what are you doing? Leonardo DiCaprio. Tom Brady. Like, who attacks Tom Brady? Like, what are you doing? I just don't get it. I think that if you're Bernie Sanders, if you're Elizabeth Warren, if you are a progressive Democrat, the one thing that Elon Musk does is he shows people that it can be done. That Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden and Barack Obama and whoever, all these people promised they were going to do something about climate change. And frankly, they didn't do jack shit. And along comes Elon Musk, and he starts building electric cars that everybody says isn't going to work, and he actually delivers electric cars that work. And my car is currently, absorbing some electrons for I'm going out later, and I don't go to gas stations anymore. My car is, I'm much better to the environment right now because I have a Tesla. And hopefully soon I will be living, I'm not related to the live stream later, at some point in the future, I hope to be living in this home powered by solar, and I've got ideas for startups. Elon has motivated me. I've talked about doing startups, a startup pod car and a startup, pod car startup and solar farm apartment startup. I am hoping to build my solar farm apartment prototype, hopefully within a year, and then I'll ideally be living in that, at least part-time, and then I'll be doing less harm to the environment and doing more for the environment. Great stuff. I think that Elon shows the people that Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden and anybody who claims they're going to do something about climate change, that they're full of it because they don't do anything about climate change. They haven't made an impact on climate change, and Elon has. They haven't made an impact on air pollution, and Elon has. The comical thing is the Chinese government. The government, where I get all these comments on my YouTube channel bashing China. The Chinese government seems to appreciate... Let me think about this. The government of China appreciates Elon Musk more than the United States government. Trump, whatever your criticisms of Trump, and I'm not a fan of Trump, I never would vote for him. Trump appreciated Elon Musk, called him a genius, Congratulated him for what he was doing with SpaceX. Congratulated him for what he was doing for Tesla. Joe Biden has never, as far as I can tell, Joe Biden has never mentioned Elon Musk's name. He has never mentioned Tesla. He has never mentioned SpaceX. It's mind-boggling that the U.S. government and the California government seem to hate Elon Musk, and progressive politicians in Texas seem to hate Elon Musk, where the Chinese government loves Elon Musk. So I'm going to move on now, and I'm going to respond to some questions. If you're in the chat, and you have questions that you want me to address. Please put them in the chat. I asked for my local supporters. They had questions before the live stream. I asked on Patreon. I asked on YouTube, and I didn't get any questions, but I did on locals. So Cookie asks whether to subscribe, support, or buy coins. I don't know which is the worst UI, user interface, this or Patreon. I would just ask you to support the channel, to become a supporter of this, the Daily Lie here. Subscribing is great, just so you can watch the videos like this live stream. If you're a supporter, you'll get to see more videos, and you'll be able to chat, and you'll be able to comment. Buying coins is kind of cool. I like it, but that's like a short-term thing. I think being a supporter is better. Crazy Dave says, I'm curious about what the internal combustion engine car manufacturers would have paid in penalty fines and the repercussions had they not been able to buy EV credits from Tesla. In addition to this, many states and countries have set goals. I doubt that car manufacturers would have paid much consequences. I think that they create these tax credit ideas and these other loopholes, and it seems like a big deal, and it ends up not being that big of a deal. Do I think that the big car makers are simply holding their cards close to their chest to avoid the Osborne effect cannibalizing their current ICE models? I think that the car manufacturers, the internal combustion engine car manufacturers, Ford, General Motors, Stellantis or Chrysler or whatever you want to call it, Toyota, Volkswagen, I think they're not able to adapt their business model, the structure of their business, the way everything works. They're not able to adapt in a way that allows them to compete in an electric vehicle market. They're still a big market for internal combustion engine vehicles, and they're competing in a market where they know they can compete. They just can't make electric vehicles efficiently enough to make a better electric vehicle than Tesla makes. Hyundai is the one exception. I mean, not that it's better than Tesla, but Hyundai and Kia are actually making somewhat competitive electric vehicles. Volkswagen, maybe the ID4 is somewhat competitive. The Mach-E, the Mach-E is a good vehicle, but I think they spend $100,000 to make a $50,000 car. They can't scale that. I think the F-150 Lightning is going to be the same thing. They'll be able to make an electric pickup truck, but they're going to lose so much money on each one that it's not a good long-term model. They have too many hurdles. They have their own internal bureaucracy, which makes it hard to adapt. They have their own methods, which makes it hard to innovate rapidly. Tesla innovates so rapidly, it's just impossible for them to keep up. They have their dealership model, which raises costs and increases customer dissatisfaction because dealers, frankly, are unpleasant. Going to a dealership stinks. I still own a Volkswagen Passat, which my daughter is driving until I get my next Tesla. My daughter gets my Model 3. And when I take the Passat into the dealership to get an oil change, for some reason it takes 3 hours. I don't know why it takes 3 hours to get an oil change. I can go to a regular oil change. It was free, right? At a certain point, I just stopped getting the oil changes at the dealership, even though it was free, because my time was worth more than the $20 it would cost me to get, or $50 or whatever it would cost me to get an oil change somewhere else. So I think that the big car makers are unable to compete. I think what we're going to see is as Tesla scales production, and especially if the robotaxi world happens, once the robotaxi world happens, there will be a collapse in demand for internal combustion engine vehicles. And the car makers will all go bankrupt, with possibly the exception of Hyundai and Kia, because they seem to be making progress on EVs. Governments will bail them out. There will be more strings attached to the bailouts, and they will fail again, because the problem isn't that they lack capital. The problem is that they lack competitiveness. They simply are unable to compete meaningfully with what Tesla is doing, with even, I would say, Rivian, Lucid, Arcimoto, Neo Motors, the companies that are pure EV plays. They're probably innovating more, and they have a lead. And I don't think the internal combustion engine makers can keep up. I don't think Volkswagen, which is making an effort, General Motors is screwing up, Ford is screwing up. I don't think they can compete with, and I don't know if Lucid's going to succeed. I don't know if Rivian's going to succeed, but I think they have an edge. Being pure EV from the start is an edge. Not having a dealership model is an edge. Not having unionization is an edge. Not having political strings attached is an edge. So there's a lot of edges that pure EV makers have that internal combustion engine makers can't keep up with. So, none face? Is that from a Miyazaki movie? No face? Do you think a Chinese real estate crash is coming, the Evergrande domino effect? If yes, do you think this will reflect on the US in the short, medium, long term? I don't know enough about China. I don't think they're going to have a real estate crash. China's economy is growing fast, and that will support the economy growing through problems. My big fear globally and in the US is that the economic policies, the fiscal and monetary policies we're seeing from governments, I think it's the US government for sure, and maybe other governments, the money printing and the borrowing, at some point we're going to see some kind of collapse. But I've been saying that since 2013 or earlier, and I've been wrong for like 8 years. So I'm kind of like Chicken Little. I think we're facing a collapse, but I keep saying it and it doesn't happen. So at some point, maybe I have to accept I'm wrong, or I just have to accept that, yeah, it may happen, but it could be another 20 years. I have no idea when the collapse is coming. I don't think it's going to come from a Chinese real estate crash because China's economy is growing so fast that their demand for real estate is going to go up. And yes, there can be moments where there's I think Ron Paul would call it a malinvestment, that the Evergrande was an example of a malinvestment, that the way the Chinese real estate market works and the economy works, the government has a little bit more influence than it probably should. And sometimes, as any government will, they make poor decisions and capital goes to the wrong place. But I don't think Evergrande is big enough to like tank the Chinese economy overall. I think the Chinese economy is growing fast and will continue to grow fast. So I just worry that we're printing so much money and we're borrowing so much money, a government, the US government, and I think other European governments and other countries, the Japanese government, I think they're all doing it. And I think at some point that may blow up in our faces. But like I said, I've been wrong a lot. A. Casano says, to what despicable depth has our country fallen to when a senator such as Elizabeth Warren can despise a great American as Elon Musk? Yeah, I think I already covered this question, Casano. So I think that it's, first of all, I think we should recognize that politicians have always sucked. That if you go back in American history, there were crappy politicians saying crappy things for the last 200 plus years. It's not new. It stings more when they do it to someone we believe in, right? But if you go back and you look at the antitrust laws that were created and the reason they were created, they weren't created because consumers were getting ripped off by monopolists. The antitrust laws were created because innovators started becoming really, really innovative and making their products and services much more competitively than established industries, established competitors that already existed. And those guys went to government and got help to protect them from competition, to protect them from competition that was satisfying customers more, and was giving customers what they wanted at a lower price more efficiently. So I think this kind of thing has happened a lot. I think that they can't figure out how, because Elon is out competing General Motors and Ford, and this hurts the United Auto Workers, which is a big supporter of the Democratic Party, but they can't really figure out how to stop him, right? I mean, if they actually went ahead and stopped Tesla from selling electric cars, that wouldn't look good, and Tesla would just sell the cars in other countries anyway, right? So it's just kind of like the reason Elon can tweak politicians like he does, he can make fun of Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and Joe Biden, is because there's really not that much they can do to him. You know, and if they push it too far, then they piss off a lot more voters. And, you know, I think he's figured out that they can't really do that much to him. And he's got factories in China and Europe. So if, you know, it gets blown up in the US, he just continues to do what he does in Europe and China. So it just doesn't make sense. And, you know, like, SpaceX is saving NASA so much money. They're saving the federal government. Their cost of launching payloads to orbit, the cost of launching astronauts to the space station is so much less with SpaceX than it was before. And like, this is somehow a bad thing? I don't understand it. PRN Matt asks, do you feel Tesla will soon make their car's battery available to supplement their Powerwall? Competitors will also soon provide this functionality. No, and I also say no. I don't think Tesla's going to do that because I don't think it's necessary. And if you have a Powerwall, you're not going to need the car to back it up. I do think at one point I heard Drew Baglino say that it's something they might offer. So maybe it will happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think it's a high priority. I think that's a rare use case where that would be necessary. And I know I don't think competitors are really going to provide that functionality. Competitors claim they're going to provide that functionality, but they're not really providing that functionality. It's a lot harder than it looks. There's reasons why we don't see that much of it, and I think those reasons are going to continue. And I just don't think it's that important. Your car's battery is so much more valuable as a car battery than it is as a battery for your house. You know, it's designed for your car. It's lighter weight, where a battery designed for your house can be heavier. So I think that people overrate the value. And check my channel. I've made on my YouTube channel. I've made videos about why V2G is dead, vehicle to grid. And you know, is there some value in having your car's battery available when the power's out, when there's a power outage? Yeah, but if you have power walls, you probably got enough to cover yourself anyway. So it's a rare use case. It's not really worth worrying about. I mean, honestly, if the power goes out in your house and you're hot, let's say it's hot out and you're hot, just go in your car and run the air conditioning in your car. The battery's going to last a lot longer providing air conditioning in the car than it is running the air conditioning in the house. Apparently, Giga Austin will soon be producing the 4680s. I don't know how soon that's going to happen. Fremont is producing 4680s. Giga Austin will be using the 4680s from Fremont. Hopefully in January, we're going to see Model Ys coming out of Austin with 4680 cells. This is going to be a game changer too. When you're looking for, I put up this image earlier about Tesla stock, and you're wondering what's going to boost Tesla stock. When that first 4680 Model Y rolls out of Texas and gets tested by Car and Driver and Road and Track and Motor Trend, and people start to experience how amazing that car is, that's probably going to pump up the stock. I think that's going to be a big deal. And when they start producing cars in volume out of Texas and Berlin. So I think that Giga Austin and Giga Berlin will be producing 4680 cells within 3 to 6 months, but I don't think they're going to be producing them in significant volume yet. When do I feel the single front and rear casting will expand to all Teslas? I think we're going to see single piece front and rear castings in the Texas Model Y soon, and in Berlin not that long down the road. Once they're producing in substantial volume, then I think Tesla Fremont might pause their lines. There's a cost that you have to take at least a few weeks and maybe a couple months to shift over your manufacturing from what you were doing to the new way. And I think they have to wait until Giga Texas is really pumping out vehicles before they make that shift in Fremont. And then to do it in Shanghai, you know, they're producing so competitively the way they're doing it now in Shanghai that the need to shift to single piece front castings may not be that great. So I don't know when they would do that in Shanghai. It may be that once they have like 4 lines going, then they do 1 line at a time. But I think the Model Y from China is so profitable that the gain from switching over may not be that much. Is Giga Berlin truly being delayed by Tesla's failure to provide requested documents? I don't think so. I don't know that Giga Berlin is being delayed, by the way. I think there's some talk about delays, but I'm not sure that it's actually being delayed. I haven't heard anything credible to say that there really is a delay. I think there are efforts to delay it, but I don't think it's happened yet. Last question is, it's looking like Giga Austin will come online before Giga Germany. I think it's going to be about the same time. I think Giga Berlin is about ready to go. I don't know. I haven't seen any news saying that Giga Berlin is significantly delayed. I've seen that there are efforts to delay it, but I haven't seen any news that it's actually delayed. So let's see what's going on in the chat here. Let's see. I've heard that GM is getting a lot more subsidies for their factory. I'm sure that GM and Ford are getting lots of subsidies, and I don't like it, but it is what it is. As an advanced thinker, will Elon go vegan to end suffering for sentient beings? I doubt that Elon is going to go vegan. I have not gone vegan. I think of myself as an advanced thinker. I'm sorry, but I like bacon. I think that technology may shift well enough with Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods and Memphis Meats. I think Memphis Meats changed their name, but the cell-based and lab-based meats, we may see a significant shift away from animal-based meat to plant-based meat and cell-based meat. I think that makes sense for the future, that it will happen, but I don't know when it's going to happen. And look, I had bacon and eggs this morning, and I'm not going to apologize for it. How many vegans have dogs that eat meat? I mean, is there a vegan dog diet? Does that actually work? Animals eat each other. Is our overall animal agriculture system a good thing? Probably not. Would it be better if we could find a better way? Probably. But the answer isn't that advanced thinkers need to change their diet. The answer is that companies need to come up with better ways of producing the kinds of food we want to eat in a way that's more environmentally friendly. And I think we are headed that direction. And I did buy stock in Beyond Meat because I believe in it. Do I have a view on Q4 deliveries and Build Back Better now be seen to be canned by Manchin? Thank you, Alexander. I do think I nailed that Build Back Better was not going to happen, that the tax credit's not going to happen. I did call that. I said that the EV tax credit was not going to happen, and it now looks like I was correct that the EV tax, because the EV tax credit benefited Tesla more than anybody else. GM and Ford would get a very small benefit from the EV tax credit. Tesla would get a big benefit from the EV. And I think Manchin is being used as like someone they can blame for it. And the practical reality is that the mainstream of the Democratic Party was on board with, we don't really want this EV tax credit to happen, because they could see how much it would benefit Tesla and how little benefit it would provide to Ford and GM. So I think Q4 deliveries, everything I'm hearing out of China is really good news. I don't know what the Q4 numbers will be, but I'm hearing, my gut is we're going to see 2021 total deliveries are going to be over 900,000 vehicles, which is higher than I thought 6 months ago. It really looks like Giga Shanghai is just cranking up production like beyond belief. And we are going to top 900,000 vehicles for the year. I still think it's a close call. Might be 880, might be 890, and it might be 910. Let's see what happens. I'm excited about it. I don't think the EV tax credit has anything to do with it. The thing that's holding up Tesla is the challenges of producing at scale, increasing production. And once they get Giga Berlin and Giga Texas going, you're going to see like a massive ramp. And I think we're going to see 2 million in 2022. Melody says the U.S. government is pissed Elon because he doesn't give any money to their slush funds. I'm sure that that's true, that Elon and Tesla and SpaceX don't buy off politicians as much as others do. And that's, why people accept that, I don't understand. Birkenstock says, I've been putting every dollar I can into these on sale Tesla shares. Yes, it's Black Friday. It's Christmas sales. Buy your Tesla stock now while it's cheap. I like this question from Sarah. What percent would you give the chance that we have significant political and civil disruption around the 2024 elections? I would say it's a 90% chance we're going to have significant political and civil disruption around the elections. I don't see any chance that we don't. I mean, 90 plus. I think we're going to see massive protests of all kinds. I think that's the game. That's the game of politics for the future now, and they're largely phony. Whether they're Republican disruptions or Democrat disruptions, ultimately a lot of them are phony. I think that the January 6th thing was phony. I don't know any Republican friends who think that it was a good idea to storm the Capitol. Not the mainstream of the Republican Party that did that. I'm now seeing rumors that the FBI did it. I don't know that, that the deep state put everybody up to that. I don't know. Is that right? I don't even know. When will Tesla have a $25,000 vehicle that will compete with Hyundai, Toyota, etc.? I think that's a missed point. The battery day vehicle, my guess, is being pushed from 2023 to 2024. I think ultimately the battery day vehicle is designed to be a robo-taxi that will not be sold to consumers directly. I think it will, in theory, be a $25,000 vehicle. I think the Model 3, honestly, already, the China Model 3 and maybe I think the Model 3 and even the Model Y may cost Tesla less than $25,000 to build. But delivering it to a customer, obviously, there's so much demand that there's no point in lowering the price. If you lower price when you already have massive demand, you just increase delays that people have to wait for their vehicles. You might as well charge more and get more money for the company so that you can build more factories faster. I think that the battery day, whether it's a $25,000 vehicle that competes with Hyundai, Toyota, I don't think that matters. A $40,000 Tesla Model 3 already competes with Hyundai and Toyota. It's more expensive up front, but it's lower cost longer term. Sarah says, just bought a used Toyota Corolla from the dealer here. Great experience. Get my maintenance done by a local mechanic. The problem with buying a gasoline-powered vehicle is in about 5 years, it's going to be worthless. When EVs ramp at scale, when robo-taxi networks become live, internal combustion engines are going to be basically useless punks of junk. It's going to be less expensive to ride an electric vehicle than it is to own an internal combustion engine vehicle. The maintenance that goes into dealing with an internal combustion engine vehicle, like I'm never going to get an oil change again. I'm never going to have to worry about transmission fluid again. All the things that you don't have to worry about when you have an EV. I think we're about 5 years away from internal combustion engines going to zero value. I would not buy an internal combustion engine. I'm hoping to get rid of that Volkswagen soon, so that we just have all EVs between me and my daughter. So many are manufacturing EVs now that despite Tesla having a superior product, they'll make a big dent for a while. I think the Chinese are succeeding, but I have not seen anybody really scaling electric vehicle production like Tesla is doing. NIO Motors is making significant progress, but they still have a long way to go. Hyundai and Kia are doing okay, but they still have a long way to go in terms of increasing the scale. And really, you just don't have enough batteries. The supply chain is hindering the growth of EVs. The supply chain is hindering the ICE vehicles too. Adam says legacy OEMs have a lot less time than they think to transition to EVs. They would need to get over the hump to make their EVs profitable and produced in volume. Yeah, I agree with that, Adam, 100%. They're in deep trouble. They are in deep trouble. I don't think they can get through it. Mark Plot says Rivian has a third quarter loss of $1.2 billion. Yeah, I expected Rivian to have significant losses, roughly $5 billion loss over the next year. But Rivian did something, worked out really well for them. Their IPO, they raised like $14-15 billion in cash. So they have a cash pile that will take them 3 years if their business prospects don't improve, if they don't sell any cars. Their cash pile will hold out for 3 years. If they actually sell pickup trucks and SUVs and electric delivery vans, and they have revenue coming in, then Rivian should be able to last 5 or 6 years without even being successful, with just being moderately successful. So that's the big edge, where Lucid Motors, their cash pile isn't as big, so they got a problem. Yeah, Mark Plot says in China, some cities sponsor EV production. There's a lot of government support for producing electric vehicles in China. That's true. Victor Block says you're not wrong about collapse. Many people suffer from government crooks. People want equality, but government controls too much and makes their friends wealthy at everyone else's expense. 100% agree with you. The best politician is no politician. I'd say the best government is no government. President says, pretty sure that Elon Musk wants to become president of Mars president of Mars. No, I don't think so. I think Elon wants to facilitate the growth of a Mars colony. I don't think he cares about having a title of president. I think he wants to create the transportation network with Starship that makes Mars viable, create the other technology so that Mars becomes viable, that we can actually have a growing colony on Mars. And there's actually one of the things I'm going to talk about in the next live stream. I'm going to talk about an issue that is probably one of the biggest challenges to make Mars a success. Little bit of insight. One of the things I'm going to talk about in the private video for supporters only is I'm going to talk about, Elon has been talking about human reproduction. You know, the fertility crisis, the birth rate crisis that we have, that humanity may collapse and die with a whimper rather than a bang because we just don't have enough kids. That's probably a pretty good hint what I'm going to talk about in the next video and the private live stream. Yes, people suffer from the corruption even without a collapse. It's true. Be president of Mars, you need to be born on Mars. I don't think that's going to be true. I don't know that Mars is going to have a president. Maybe Elon has a different political system in mind that doesn't have a president. Giga Austin already had cell production equipment installed. I think Giga Austin has the cell production equipment, but I don't know if they have everything lined up to produce cells yet. I'm not sure. I haven't heard that they're producing cells in Giga Texas or in Giga Berlin yet, but I think they're close. Thank you, Melody, for your support. Can't wait for the Sandy Monroe breakdown of the first structural battery pack Tesla. That's going to be awesome. Sarah says, I have 2 dogs and they're vegan, great health. One is 11, one is 7. Dogs can do without meat. Cats are true carnivores. Yeah, we have a dog. We fed our dog meat. You know, is it possible to feed a dog vegan? Yes. But animals in the wild, dogs in the wild, cats in the wild eat meat. You can force a vegan diet on an animal that's a meat eater, but it's not the way life works. You can dislike the way life works. And look, I appreciate vegans. I think vegans are good for society. I think it would be better if we could be vegan. I just don't think we're there yet. And the realistic way of getting there isn't to persuade people to be vegan. The realistic way of getting there is companies like Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods delivering what people want to eat in a way that's healthier and costs less money. If you can deliver Beyond Meat, Impossible Foods, ground beef for the same price even, or just even a little bit more than regular ground beef, then I'm already buying Beyond Meat products, to be clear, and Impossible. I already buy their products. I don't buy regular meat anymore. I buy the plant-based meats myself, but I'm rich. I can afford to spend an extra $4 a pound for that meat. They don't make bacon yet, so I still buy bacon, just to be clear. Actually, I haven't bought bacon in a while because I have so much bacon stocked up. I have a lot of meat stocked up that I'm working on. And as far as cheese goes, I don't think production of cheese and dairy is quite as problematic as production of meat. Because you don't have to kill the animal to get the dairy, but it's still an issue. It's still not an efficient way of producing nutrition, and it would be better if we could come up with better ways. And I believe there is a plant-based milk product now, unless it's a cell-based. I have seen a plant or cell-based milk product out there. I haven't seen it in the stores. I've just seen that it's out there. Sarah says, I'm ready to turn my ICE keys and hire a robotaxi. When robotaxi comes, it changes the game. It changes the game. Robotaxis is like the big thing. Let's see. Victor Block says, right now maintaining my Accord is cheap. I'd love to have a Tesla, but totally invested for now. So the thing about your Honda Accord, and I think a Honda Accord is a great internal combustion engine car. I'm not trying to crack on it. Is there's going to be a moment where there's going to be a shift, and that Honda Accord that you have right now, you could probably sell for, let's say, $10,000 or $15,000. And there's going to be a moment in 3 to 5 years when your value of your Honda Accord is going to effectively head towards zero fast. If you can sell your Honda Accord now and buy a Tesla Model 3, my opinion, you should. For number one, you'll be thrilled to have your Tesla, and number two, that Honda Accord, you're not counting how much value, how much wealth you're going to lose when your Honda Accord goes to zero in value. Alexandra says, please root for making children, not religiously motivated. You have 5. The only thing that really matters. Congratulations on having 5. We're going to talk about having children, about the future of humanity in the next video. That's going to be for supporters only. I will be talking about this in the future more openly, but for now it's going to be behind the paywall. And Alexandra says, I will recommend and finance to my girls to freeze their eggs so they're not limited to their biological clock. Recommend you discuss this with your daughters. Best to do before they're age 28 to 30. I read 32. I just read an article on this, Alexandra. Alexandra, if you DM me on Twitter, I'll send you an article I just read about this. I believe up to about age 32, it's good to freeze eggs. This is a whole nother thing. We'll be talking about that in the next live stream. So AI will revolutionize farming and will enable small-scale healthy food supply. I think that if you look at what Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods are doing, I don't know if AI is necessary for what they're doing. I think that Beyond Meat has definitely figured out they're doing what Tesla's doing. They're building factories in other countries so that they're closer to their supply chain and closer to their consumers, and that makes the production of the meat more efficient, and they're figuring out how to produce the plant-based meat more efficiently. I don't know that AI is necessary for that. It may be helpful at some point. Adam says, everyone just assumes that plant-based meats will be healthy, but that is an open question. Oh, I love this. Adam, you gave me something to talk about, so thank you for this. He says, processed food is less healthy in general, and this is just about the only thing vegan and keto people agree on. So this is a mistake that people make when they talk about plant-based meat, is they call it processed food. And Ethan Brown has addressed this. Ethan Brown is the CEO of Beyond Meat. An animal meat is processed food. An animal eats grass and goes through this entire process that's complicated, that converts the grass or whatever vegetation that it eats and converts it into meat in the cells of its body. The animal-based process involves antibiotics, blood, urine, insects, feces. The plant-based meat approach converts plant matter into meat cells, into meat, without using blood, urine, feces, insects, or antibiotics. So they're both processes. You just don't see that the animal eating vegetation and converting it in its own body into meat. You don't see that that's processed food, but it is a process that converts vegetation to food. So the idea is that the plant-based approach is a better process and a healthier process for producing that meat than the animal approach. And you're not using all these things that are unhealthy in the way. You're not going to get E. coli introduced. There's all these issues that come into animal-based meat. Sarah says, if some knucklehead crashes into my Tesla 3 and does significant damage, how easy is it to get repaired? It's the same as another car. If it needs to be repaired, then and it's repairable, then it'll be repairable, and your insurance will pay for it, or the knucklehead's insurance will pay for it. And if there's frame damage and it's not the vehicle is total loss, then the same thing would have happened with a gasoline-powered car too. As far as I know, Teslas are actually hold up better in crashes than other cars. Yeah. So all right. So I think we've gone long enough in this live stream. We're over an hour in. I think it's gone well. I don't see any other questions in the chat, so I'm going to end this live stream now. I have something I'm doing later today. That's why I started early. I really appreciate everyone joining this this live stream. So I am going to end this stream. And now, if you are a supporter, I'm going to start another stream in a couple minutes, and I'm going to talk about this personal matter and how it relates to Elon's talk about a birth crisis, fertility crisis for humanity. If you are not a paid supporter and you want to hear that, please become a supporter of the channel. If you are a Patreon supporter or a YouTube channel member, I'm going to try to post that video on YouTube. I don't think YouTube will censor this one, but they have a history of censoring, so I would rather you became a supporter on this channel and you'd be more likely to see it. So thanks to the Vasa Law Firm in Sweden, all my Patreon supporters, thanks to all my local supporters, thanks to my YouTube channel members, and thank you so much for watching. And please, if you're interested, hang on. I'm going to start another live stream for supporters only. Thank you.